Okay, so I have started recording and I'm going to begin. So yeah, welcome everybody to this National Geographic Learning Model lesson. And this is the last Asia webinar of 2021. Although don't worry, okay, we will of course be back in 2022, right? So it's not the last one ever, but it is the last one of this calendar year. Today we're going to be doing a listening and speaking lesson, which ends in a unit task of a debate. And the topic of the debate is actually up to the students, but I'm suggesting the title of Is Gaming a Sport? Is eGaming a sport? In case you don't know me, you haven't been to one of my webinars before, my name is Will Lachette, and I am an academic consultant and teacher trainer for National Geographic Learning. I'm originally from the UK, and I've been back there for a month, and I'm back in Singapore where I live, and I've been working in English language teaching since 2001, so 20 years now. I'd like to know a little bit about you before we continue. So I'm going to launch my first poll. And you can see that on your screen now. So please tell me, which segments do you teach? If you teach all of them, you can select all of them. If you just teach one, you can just select one. So just to see who we have in the room today. Okay, I'll just give you a few more seconds. All right, and I'm going to end the poll now, and we'll have a look at the results. Okay, so we can see that we've got 56% of you, so over half of you are teaching teenagers, almost half of you are teaching university, 26% are teaching adults. So it's going to be most relevant for you guys teaching teens, university and adults, because it's a debate that we're looking at and the skills leading up to that. If you're teaching very young learners or young learners, it might be possible with the older young learners to do a debate, but I think with very young learners, you're going to be struggling to get any kind of debate going there, but hopefully you still enjoy the session and enjoy the themes and the topics that we're looking at today. Okay, so today, yeah, we're using materials from the listening and speaking strand of our academic program, which is called Reflect. And Reflect is a 6-level dual strand series, which means that there are a total of 12 books in Reflect, and 6 of those books are for reading and writing, and 6 of them are for listening and speaking skills. And Reflect caters for students from an A1, that's a beginner level, all the way up to a C1 level on the CFR, which is an advanced level. And today's lesson, as you can see here, we're going to be using level 1, which is for an A1, that's a beginner or elementary level student. Okay, when I say a beginner or elementary student, I don't mean a very young learner or a young learner. I mean that it's for basically secondary or high school students, college students or university students. Okay, so here is the unit task that we're looking at today. So let's read it. So the task is debate if an activity is a sport or not. And let's read the rubric. So to debate is to discuss both sides of a subject. You are going to debate with a partner the question, is an activity a sport or not? And here where it says an activity, the students would be able to choose which activity they want to debate. So they might choose, for example, e-gaming, which is what I'm going to choose. So they can choose whichever activity they want to say, is it a debate or not? Some of you earlier, just before we started, were talking about rollerblading, hiking, okay, cycling. So these are things maybe your students could debate. One person will say the activity is a sport and the other person will say it isn't. Okay, this is in the debate. Use the ideas, vocabulary, and skills from the unit. Okay, so let's have a look. I'll just give you a few seconds for that to sort of sink in. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about this task. So can you type into the chat box for me? What is the skill or the skills that this task will be practicing? So this kind of debate task, what are the main skills that we are using, the students are using? So can you type into the chat box for me? Okay, Cherry gets straight in there with arguing. Right, okay, arguing. Jasmine says critical thinking. That's great. Giving opinions. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so we've got three good different skills there. Kaz says speaking, vocabulary, and listening. Right, critical thinking, supporting opinions, rebuttal. Right, okay, exactly. So if you're going to disagree, okay, with what somebody says, critical thinking and public speaking, right? So a lot of different skills there. Marissa said, yeah, speaking. So essentially at its heart, this is a speaking activity, right? A debate is an oral activity, a verbal activity. It's a speaking task. But as you have correctly identified, there are many other skills involved in this. Okay, so listening to the other person. Okay, you've got to plan what you're going to say. Critical thinking, persuasion. You probably need to do some research, analyzing the argument. So there are so many different skills involved. So yeah, it's a complex task, and we need to make sure that students are ready to take part in it. We can't just say to our students, right, okay, off you go, okay, have a debate. We need to really set this up carefully. Okay, so let's go through and have a look at how we're going to do that today. So today, for the presentation, I'm going to be using the classroom presentation tool, which is a digital resource. It's a piece of software that we produce at National Geographic Learning, and it basically has all of the content, it has all of the resources that I need to teach this class online or in the classroom. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing and I'm going to do a new share. We're going to go over to OneNote for a moment. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, here we go. Let's go over to OneNote. Let's try that again. Here we go. And now you should be able to see my OneNote. So the debate, as we said, it is about is an activity a sport or not? So before we, the first thing we need to do is really consider what we think a sport is. So we need to define, okay, what a sport is. So I've got some images here and some words. So we're just going to match these together. So over here on the left, the top left here, I've got an image. Can you tell me what is this activity that you can see here? Okay, so we've got golf. Okay, so I'm just going to move this down here. Okay, golf. Okay, there we go. Looks like a nice place to play. How about this activity you can see here in the middle, the top middle, with the black and white pieces? Yeah, this one we've got chess. Okay, so let's move that down. Okay, chess. Any chess players here today? Nah. Okay, how about the next picture on the right? Yeah, someone's already put it there. Okay, here we've got fishing. Notice I'm deliberately calling them activities at this point rather than sports, because we haven't decided on our definition yet. How about this one at the bottom left? Yeah, this one is parkour, or another name for this is free running. Does everybody know what this is? So parkour it's an activity where people move through the urban environment in a very athletic way. So there's lots of sort of jumping and climbing, and it's kind of like a very exciting thing to watch. So they use their hands, their feet, their whole body to move very quickly. So you'll see people like jumping down huge flights of stairs or climbing up walls. So it's a very sort of fluid, exciting thing to watch. You can see this young man here has used his hand and he's jumping over these kind of wet, I think they may be part of a fountain. This is called parkour. Okay, how about the next one? This image here. Can you guess which of these two this is representing? Yeah, so this is competitive eating. So I don't know if you've come across this or not, but basically competitive eating is, as the name suggests, an eating competition. And there are really two different kinds of eating competitions. What does she have in her mouth here? So there are two different kinds of eating competition. Yeah, she's eating chilies, a red pepper or a red chili. Which one is this representing? Do any of you know what kind of eating competition this is representing? Super duper spicy chili. So the first kind of eating competition you might see is where people try to eat the most spicy food. So there's a chili eating competition where competitors eat spicier and spicier chilies. They're ones that normal people definitely cannot eat until nobody can eat them anymore, and the person who eats the spiciest chili wins. Have you ever seen this? Maybe on TV? It looks very painful. It doesn't look very enjoyable to me. There's another kind of competitive eating, which doesn't involve spicy food. It involves eating a huge amount of food. So you might see competitors maybe have something like 100 hot dogs or 100 burgers, and they have to eat them as quickly as possible. And the winner is the person who eats those as, the fastest. So once they've eaten all 100, the plate is clean, they're declared the winner. So you get people lined up in a row and they're just basically eating as fast as they can. So yeah, competitive eating. And the last one over here, it's not a great picture, but what is this representing? So we've got someone here wearing his headset, okay, looking at his computer screen. Okay, this is representing eGaming. eGaming is, of course, where professional gamers take part in competitions to win. Okay, so they play, have a tournament, and the winner wins a big prize, wins a lot of money. So here are 6 activities. Now I want you to think about, are these sports? Okay, so do we consider these sports? So we understand what they are now. I'm going to put the second poll up on the screen, and I'm going to launch it. And I want you to give me your opinion. Are these 6 activities sports? So you should be able to see on your screen now, if you're with me on Zoom, is it a sport? If you're on Facebook, okay, you can just type into the comments, okay, whether you think there are sports or not. If you're doing the poll on Zoom, make sure you scroll all the way down. There are 6 questions because there are 6 activities on your screen. Make sure you hit submit, okay, at the bottom, so that I can see all of your answers. Okay, so what do we think? Are these things sports? Okay, if you've already finished doing the poll, maybe you can type into the chat box for me. So I can see from my poll here, a lot of people are putting that golf is a sport. So if you think that golf is a sport, can you type into the chat box for me? Why is golf a sport? So what do you think? What is it about golf that makes it a sport? So type that into the chat box for me. Okay, Sandra says it has body movement. So golf has some body movement, right? But perhaps not a lot. Cecilia says there are competitions. Okay, Michelle said that as well. There is a physical activity that can be measured by score, Jasmine, thank you. Kaz says you can win money and there's a ranking. Right, someone here says you need physical skill. That's right. Okay, hand-eye coordination. Great. Okay, so we've got a lot of good reasons why sport golf you consider a sport. Okay, now let's have a look down here. How about this one? So competitive eating. So I can see most of you have put here that competitive eating is not a sport. Competitive eating is not a sport. So can you tell me, please, in the chat box, why is competitive eating not a sport? Okay, Sandra says not much body movement, so just putting your hand to your mouth. Oni says it's not healthy. No skill required. So Nicholas, let me ask you a question. If there's no skill required, why is it that some people are better at it than others? So if I entered that competition, I definitely wouldn't win. So if you can be better at something, you know, doesn't that mean that there must be some kind of skill? Okay, doesn't have international status. Kaz, I think it does have international status. Okay, it's just for entertainment. Okay, all right. So they're definitely okay. So this is interesting. So let me end the poll. Okay, and let's have a look at what we've got here for the results. So for golf, we've got 98% of you say that it is a sport. Okay, for chess, we've got 67%. For fishing, we've got here 67% for fishing as well. For competitive eating, we've got only 37%. For parkour or free running, we've got 78. Okay, so most of you consider that a sport. And for e-gaming, oh, okay, it's very close. We've got 57% for e-gaming. Okay, so just over half of you consider e-gaming to be a sport. All right, so we've had a look at that. Okay, why we think one sport, golf is a sport, and why perhaps competitive eating isn't. If I was going to ask you for the definition of a sport, what would you tell me? So you've told me why it is and why it isn't. So if I'm going to ask you for a definition of a sport, can you type that into the chat box for me? So how do we define a sport? It doesn't have to be the whole definition. Okay, so it needs training and discipline. Okay, great. Goulart says an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for health, getting achievement, or entertainment. Right, now that, Galua, sounds like you've got that from a dictionary. Okay, that sounds very comprehensive. Anthony says any activity which is competitive against another or yourself. Right, interesting. Against another or yourself, Anthony. Jasmine says activity that requires physical movement. Okay, so Jasmine, if we went with something like that, I mean, talking, I'm talking to you now, that requires physical movement. Could we consider talking a sport as I'm talking to you now? Michelle says sport involves discipline and overcoming difficulties. Okay, so lots of interesting ideas here. Okay, great, loads of great ideas. So let's have a look. We're going to move on, okay, and we're going to go in now to the classroom presentation tool. Which I mentioned earlier. So this is the digital version of our textbook. We're going to click in here and we're going to go into our listening and speaking lesson. And we're going to listen, do some listening about what it means to be a sport. So before we do, let's have a look. We've got a nice image on the screen here. Does anybody know which sport we're looking at right now? It is rugby indeed. So this is a popular sport in my country, in England. I know it's popular in Japan and Hong Kong. Might not be popular in every country along the world, but it is a big sport. And can you tell me then quickly, this sport, rugby, okay, why is this a sport? I used to play, Kaz. I don't play anymore. I think I'm a bit too old to be playing rugby now, but I did play at school, yes. So what makes this a sport? So I think everyone would agree that this is a sport. Why is this a sport? Okay, it needs teamwork, great. Okay, again, we can see them lifting this guy into the air. Okay, so obviously this needs physical strength. That's right, you need training. This is a particular type of sport. It's a ball sport, right? A lot of sports use balls, yeah? So again, we're delving further into what it means to be a sport. Okay, so to get ready for the debate, we need the students, remember the A1 level students, they need some modeling, okay, they need some language and they need some ideas. So what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to some students, okay, discussing the question, what is a sport? Okay, now as you listen, I would like you just to decide which of the three main ideas for this discussion. I'm just going to check I'm sharing sound. I am. Okay, let's see. Please tell me if you can or can't hear the audio.
Page 70, Activity B. Listen. What is a sport?
Today, we start a new unit on sports. Let's begin with a definition of a sport. What is a sport?
A sport is a game with rules.
It's also a game with a lot of exercise. People often use their whole body when they play a sport.
Usually, a sport has teams.
That's right. And the teams play against each other.
They need to have skills to win. The players need to practice a lot.
Excellent. All of your ideas are in the definition I want us to use. A sport is a game with physical exercise. One player or a team plays against another player or team. Players follow the rules and use their skills to win. Using that definition, let's talk about different kinds of sports. What sports do you know?
I know the common sports, like soccer, basketball, and baseball.
Great. Let's call those team sports. What else?
Well, there's running. A lot of schools have track teams.
Yes, that's an individual sport. Other sports in that category are tennis, skiing, and swimming.
How about horse racing? Is that a sport?
Good question. What do other people think?
Horse racing is fun, but in my opinion, it's not a sport because the animal does the physical exercise.
I disagree. I think it's a sport. A person rides the horse.
Good points. There are many activities that some people think are sports and some don't. For example, things like chess and karate. Oh, and esports or eGaming. Are they sports? Some people think yes. Others think no.
No.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. I hear you all have strong opinions. Let's plan a debate for our next class.
Okay, great. So there we go. So this is this is really a listening lesson, which is starting to set up the debate. So it's introducing the themes. It's giving the students a bit of an understanding about what they're going to have to do, right? So let's see, some of you are already putting the answers in there. Remember, we're not looking for which of these were mentioned, okay? Because some of these are details. We're looking for the main ideas, okay? So what do we think are the main ideas? So how about A, sport is a game with rules and physical exercise. I think that is definitely one of the main ideas. Chris has put A, C, and E. Okay, let's put those in. I think you're right, Chris. I think these are right. So playing sports is healthy. We know that's true, although I don't think that was really mentioned. And this one, D, as somebody said there, it's a detail, isn't it? It's not the main idea. This is just a kind of add-on. So we can go through those and then I can check the answers here. Okay, and then we can see that we have all three answers correct. Okay, well done. So now we've looked at our definition and we've introduced some of the main topics. Okay, I'm just going to go through and just make sure that we really understand, okay, what a sport is. So I've written down the definition here. So let's see if we can go through and I've taken out some of the words here. Let's see if we can get those. So how about the first one? It says definition of a sport, and then it says a sport is a game with physical something. I'll give you a clue. It starts with an E. A sport is a game with physical. Exertion would perfectly fit, Nicholas. You're right. It's not the word I'm looking for. It's a similar word. Yeah, it's this word, exercise, but exertion would definitely fit. That would be perfect, wouldn't it? Okay, so we can put that in. Let's change it. So it's black, physical exercise, one player or a team. Okay, we've got a verb we're looking for here, beginning with P. Okay, play, right? Okay, plays. Let's have a look. Should be plural, shouldn't it? Okay, because it's one player, because it's singular. Okay, one player or a team plays against another player or team. Players follow the, Cherry's got it, okay. The rules, that's right. They follow the rules. And they use their something to win. What do they use? Chris has got it, Teresa's got it. Okay, they use their skills. Okay, we can have that as a plural. Okay, it's a countable noun. You have skills in different things, and they use their skills to win. So here is our definition of a sport, that when we're doing a debate which revolves around whether something is or isn't, it's really important that our students understand exactly what they are measuring against. So here is our definition. Okay, let's go back into the classroom presentation tool. And we're going to move on, okay, to the next page here. All right, so to take part in a debate, okay, some of you mentioned it earlier, we're going to need to give our opinions, okay, but also we're going to need to listen to our opponent's opinions as well, right? So it's important that we understand what they think, okay, so we can counter, okay, what they're saying. So we've got a nice skill box here. Remember, this is for A1, okay, elementary level students. So we're introducing the language that we need, okay, for giving opinions. Okay, and then we've got an activity where we're actually listening for these, this language that introduces the opinion. We're not going to do this because of time restraints today. We've then got a nice little grammar input here. As you notice here, that we're doing gerunds, okay, or ing forms of the ing form of a verb, which we use as a noun. And this, when we're talking about sports and activities, this is a really useful piece of grammar because, as we mentioned earlier, things like cycling, running, okay, skiing, we actually make the names of a lot of sports by just taking the verb and adding ing. So this is a particularly relevant grammar point, which they're going to need. Okay, so again, we're not going to do that. We're going to move over here, a bit more interesting. Okay, we're going to do this reflect box here. So throughout the unit in Reflect, we have these reflect boxes, which basically give students a chance to think a bit more deeply about the topic, okay, maybe do some analysis of something, and then to think about how they feel about it. So it's a kind of self-reflection or personalization activity, in this case, using some nice data. So let's have a look at this, this chart that we've got here. Can you tell me, what is this chart showing us? What does it show? So we can see it at the top here. This would normally be a discussion with a partner. So we can imagine that this is taken from a survey, okay, or a questionnaire. This is it's real data, okay, this is real data from a real survey. And we can see that it's a chart that tells us the percentage of people, okay, who think that each of these things is a sport, right? Okay, so we can see here, over here, most people, or a lot of people, think that boxing is a sport. Can you tell me how many different activities are there in the chart? There are 10. Okay, there we go, going across here. And we've got them in order of popularity according to whether we think they're a sport or not. How many of these activities do most people think are sports? How many of them? Yeah, 7. And what color are they represented by? Okay, they're in green. Okay, so green is yes. Okay, so the green ones, most people think these are sports. And there are 3 which people think are not sports. And which 3 are those? Okay, the 3 in red. So we've got competitive video gaming, we've got chess, and we've got competitive eating. Okay. That's interesting. So let's have a look at that. So we've got competitive eating here. Can you tell me what percentage of people in this survey think that competitive eating is a sport? What's the percentage there? Yeah, it's about 15%, isn't it? About 15. So here we've got 10. Okay, so yeah, roughly 15% in this survey think that competitive eating is a sport. And I can compare that with our survey that we did a minute ago. So we, from the people here in the webinar today, we had 37%. So more than twice the amount of you, okay, think that this is a sport compared to this survey. How about golf? Can you tell me, because we did that one as well, what percentage of people in the survey think that golf is a real sport? Okay, we can see here if we go up to that, yeah, it's about, yes, but roughly 85 to 88%, something like that. So roughly 85% of people think that golf is a sport. Let's compare that to you. Okay, so you today, you felt that 98% of you felt that this is a sport. So in general terms, actually, you as a group are more generous, okay, than the people who took part in this survey. What we would like to do, okay, is now go into whether you agree or not. So which activities do you think are sports and which are not? Marissa says it's a rich man's sport. I think you're right to a certain extent, okay. Certainly here in Singapore, you have to be pretty rich to play golf. So it's a bit more difficult for us to do today. But again, we're comparing, okay, we're starting to analyze a little bit about what we think is a sport and why we think it's a sport or not. Okay, this is all useful for our debate. Okay, we're going to move on, okay, to page 76. And we're going to have a look at this. So here we've got Scrabble. Okay, we're going to be talking about Scrabble here. So let me just quickly ask you, okay, in the chat box here, do you think that Scrabble is a sport? Okay, so into the chat box for me, just a yes or no. What do we think? Is Scrabble a sport? Okay, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Okay, so we've got a real sort of mix here. Okay, we've got yeses and nos coming in. So we're going to watch a short video and we're going to see. Hazel says like chess, so yes. Okay, like chess, so yes. We're going to find out, okay, if we think this is really a sport or not. All right, so before we do it, let's have a look at the preview task. So task A, it says here, how do activities such as sports and games help people? Brainstorm ideas in a small group and share your ideas with the class. So I would like you to type into the chat box here, answer this question. So how do sports and activities and games, how do they help people? Okay, so can you put that into the chat box for me? Could be Scrabble, but it could be any sport, okay, any game. So how are they helpful for people? Why do we do it? Okay, what do people like about them? What are the benefits for us? So they keep us fit mentally and physically. Thank you, Lu Dong. We learn about teamwork, Sandra, that's great. They help with our physical and mental health, Cherry. They're fun, Kaz. They build social intelligence, Chris. That's right, because when you work on a team, you have to build that social EQ, right? We learn skills. We challenge ourselves, Hazel. That's really important, isn't it? That we set ourselves challenges so that we can get better. And that's very satisfying mentally. When we set a challenge and we achieve it, okay, then that's good for our self-confidence. We develop critical mental skills, right? Perhaps decision making. You know, when you're playing a sport, playing a game, you need to be good at decision making, making quick decisions. It's part of a healthy lifestyle, right? So we've got a lot of benefits there. Okay, so we're going to watch this nice video, okay, about Scrabble. I hope you enjoy it. And there are two activities we're going to do. So firstly, we're going to be looking at main ideas. Okay, put the main ideas in the correct order. So Scrabble helps people as a sport. Scrabble matches the definition of a sport, and Scrabble is an official sport in Nigeria. And then we're going to have another activity, okay, which is on details. Okay, so let's do the first activity and see if you can answer these three here. So I'm going to keep it on a small screen, okay, so that you can see the questions as well.
basketball, soccer, and baseball. We all agree these are sports. But what about Scrabble? You know, the game? Scrabble players take letters and make words with those letters. Is that a sport? Let's see how Scrabble compares to the definition of a sport. A sport is a game with rules and physical activity. 2 or more people compete. Players use their skills, and there is a winner at the end of the game. Well, Scrabble is a game with rules. 2 or more people play Scrabble. Good players have skills, and someone wins the game. But is it a physical activity? Do Scrabble players use their bodies? Scrabble uses a muscle. It uses the brain. Good Scrabble players work out the muscles in their brains during a competition. Good Scrabble players need to be healthy and fit. Being healthy and fit helps them not get tired during a game. Nigeria also believes Scrabble is a sport. The game is very popular there. There are clubs everywhere in the country, and there are professional Scrabble coaches and players. It is an official sport. Meet Wellington Jigure, the 2015 Scrabble World Champion from Nigeria. Jigure believes Scrabble helps people in many ways as a sport. For example, it gives people something to do in their free time, and it helps some people make money. Scrabble teaches life lessons too. Everyone likes to win, but sometimes we lose. Learning to be a good winner and a good loser is important in life.
Okay, so that is the end of our video there. Notice there it did talk about some of the things about how sports help people. So we can compare, okay, our ideas there. Let's have a look at this. So what do we think? So Scrabble helps people as a sport. Was that first, second, or third? So Cherry thinks that was second. Do we agree? I'm going to put it in a second, okay? Okay, how about this one? Scrabble matches the definition of a sport. Was that the first main idea, the second, or the third? Okay, so we'll put that as first, and Galu Satriawati says that this one, Scrabble is an official sport in Nigeria, is third. Okay, so we'll put that in. Okay, let's check and see if we're correct. Okay, so these are the main ideas. Let's check the answers. Okay, and we didn't quite get those ones right. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, it should have been 3 and then 1 and then 2. Okay, so maybe we might have had to listen to that again. Did anyone notice at the end there? I know it was a little bit small. Did you see the little boy right at the end here? Let me see if I can find him again there. Okay, this little boy, his name is Joshua Molsey. Let me just make that a bit bigger so you can see it. Can you see on the screen here? Who is Joshua Molsey? Can you see that on the screen? World champion, that's right. And how old was he? Yeah, so this little boy here, he was the world champion at Scrabble age 7. I find that absolutely incredible. You know, I play Scrabble sometimes. I'm not very good at it. So, you know, I'm an English teacher. So yeah, absolutely amazing. This little boy, okay, world champion at age 7. So he really must have incredible mental powers, okay, to get to be world champion at such a young age. Okay, so that's a nice little video. Okay, let's go through. We could go through here and do the details as well. So we've got a nice true or false activity. We're not going to go through and do all of these, but basically, remember, this is for an A1 level class. So by looking at these detailed questions, this is really going to help students to understand, to understand what the video is about, because it is it is an authentic video, okay, that hasn't been adapted for English students. Yeah, so we're going to be checking that they understand all the main points there. So yeah, this is really important for students, all right? We're not going to go through and do that, do all the answers to that. It's a nice video, isn't it? So yeah, really nice video, and some, quite inspiring as well. Okay, so next question here we have, we can see at the bottom is question E. Do you think Scrabble is a sport? And it says work with a small group and share your ideas, then share your ideas as a class. So remember, all of this is still leading up to our task, our debate class. So now we've got they've got a chance to discuss this informally, okay, rather than the formal debate. And then they're going to share ideas with the class. So everything is building up to that final task. And of course, here's the language that we need, okay, the agreeing and disagreeing. So when we're in the debate, we're going to need that. So we're introducing that language that they need. Okay, so moving on to the next page here, we've got the actual, the unit task. This is where it's introduced. So we've already looked at this. And we've then got a model. Okay, so we've then got a model here for F, where students are going to listen and they're going to hear two people discussing. Models are really important, okay, when we're giving students complex tasks, so that they can actually they can actually base what they're saying, okay, on this model language here. Speaking skill here, which is also going to be important, is using listing words and phrases. So one of the differences between a debate and normal speaking is that a debate should be much more structured, because you're going to have an audience. So people are going to need to easily follow what you're saying. So one way that we structure what we're saying is by using listing words. Okay, first, okay, a second example is next, and my last reason is. So these listing words are going to help the students to really make it very clear when they're making their points, introduce each point. We've got a nice grammar point here using conjunctions and but. This is also very important in giving a debate. So we're going to learn about those to make compound sentences by connecting similar or contrasting ideas. So let's see, if we're in a debate, okay, and if you want to disagree with someone, okay, if you want to disagree with what somebody says, which of these conjunctions is going to be important there? So is it going to be and, or is it going to be but? So we'll often use this when we're, yeah, exactly, Cherry, it's going to be but. So we often use this when we want to make a concession or when we want to make a counterpoint. So we may say something like, I agree that players may feel tired, but that's not because of physical activity. So we're going to join these ideas using but, okay, using the conjunction but. So very important in a debate to make a concession and a counterpoint. How about which conjunction can be used to add information to make your point stronger or to add more emphasis? Yeah, so this is going to be and, isn't it? We're going to use this for emphasis. So we're going to say something like chess players try to win and they use their skills, or maybe Scrabble players try to win and they use their skills. So these are two reasons why we should consider this a sport. Okay, so you can see, hopefully you can see that everything that we're doing here, all of this language, this is building up to that final task. Okay. Something that's really nice about this program is that there's a lot of work on pronunciation. So we're going to have a quick look at that here. So we've got sentence stress and content words. Okay, so let's have a quick listen to this, then we're going to do a nice activity.
Page 79. Pronunciation, sentence stress, content words. In sentences, we stress words with meaning, like nouns and verbs. These are called content words. Content words include the following: nouns, sports, game, team. Main verbs: play, compete, win. Adjectives: popular, fit, healthy. Question words: who, what, how. Adverbs: always, usually, never. Negatives: isn't, don't, can't. Remember to stress the strong syllable in a word with more than one syllable. My brother competes in running and swimming.
Okay, so I really like this. I really like the pronunciation activities we've got here. And I think this is very clear, very clearly laid out. So it's not just telling us that it's the important words, okay? It's telling us what content words are, but it's also really explicitly telling us what we mean by content words, okay? So nouns, main verbs, adjectives, question words, adverbs, and negatives. So very, very clear for the students. In my opinion, pronunciation is really the area of English which gets the least attention, and we need to make sure that we're giving our students the information that they need, okay, so that they can make themselves more understandable, okay, when they're talking to other people. And, you know, pronunciation can make the difference between having a good knowledge of English, but people not understanding you, okay, and people really you know, understanding what you say. So very, very important. So we've got a nice activity here that we're going to have a look at, and I'd like you to join in with me here. So you can see here that we've got some sentences, and we've got the little circles here to show, and we've put them in bold so that we can see which of these are stressed. So what the activity is we're going to go through and we're going to tap our fingers on the bold syllables in the content words, okay? So I'm going to model this for you, and I'd like you to follow along with me, okay? And I'd like you to tap as well, okay? So let's try number one, okay? So if I just say it first of all, I could say, my brother likes hockey. Okay, now I'm going to do it with tapping, so I'd like you to repeat with me. My brother likes hockey. My brother likes hockey. My brother likes hockey. So we can go through and tap. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, number two. After me, please. The team usually wins. The team usually wins. So what we've got here is we're actually emphasizing the rhythm that English follows. Okay, so as well as the stress, okay, we're actually showing that English has a kind of rhythm to it. Let's have a look at number 5 and number 6, because when we've got more syllables here, more syllables, more words, it starts to get a little bit different. So let me explain this. So if we look at number 5, can you tell me in number 5, how many words are in sentence number 5? Okay, so there are 5, right? So we've got 5 words here. And how about number 6? How many words are in sentence 6? Okay, so we've got 8, right? But when we say the words, we're going to notice something. Well, firstly, they've got the same number of stressed words. And we're also going to notice that they take a similar amount of time to say. Okay, so let's practice them. So number 5, okay, let's say it with the tapping. Okay, after me. My father likes watching sports. Okay, again, my father likes watching sports. One more time. My father likes watching sports. Okay, now let's try number 6. You use your arms and legs in swimming. You use your arms and legs in swimming. Okay, and last time, you use your arms and legs in swimming. So if we timed those, although we've got more words in sentence 6, we're going to find that they take almost the same amount of time to say. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that the unstressed words, we tend to say more quickly, okay, because they're not important. Well, I mean, they are important, but they're not as important for comprehension. We tend to kind of compress them and focus on the content words, which is why they are stressed, and we give them more time in the sentence. So we're going to go now over to my OneNote, and I'm just going to show you a nice activity that I like to use to demonstrate this to my students. Okay. So my content words here are numbers. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? What we're going to do, I'm going to read it through, And I want, first of all, I'm just going to read it through and I just want you to listen. Okay, so I'm going to read it and you're going to see what I mean by shortening these unstressed words. Okay, so I'm just going to read it through. So if I read this, I'm going to say something like this. Okay, I'm going to tap as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 1 and then a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4. So you can see, because I was tapping, we can see it takes exactly the same amount of time to say, but I'm fitting all of these words in between the stressed syllables. Okay, so this time we're going to I'm going to do it again, and I want you to join in with me. So I'm going to say the white lines and I want you to repeat and say the yellow lines. Okay, so we're going to repeat those after me. Okay, maybe Kitty, can you join me for this one if you're there?
Sure.
Okay, right. So maybe I'm going to say the white line, and then Kitty, you're going to say the yellow line. Okay, and so is everybody else watching. All right. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and then a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4.
1 and then a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4.
Oh, congratulations. Okay, well done. You did that very well, Kitty. Okay, perfect stuff.
Thank you.
I hope, did you do it? Did you follow it with me? People watching? Okay, did you manage to get that as well? So I hope, yeah, great. Chris got it. Okay, good. So I think this is, yeah, a nice illustration, okay, for our students to understand about sentence stress, that we're really focusing on those, content words, and the other words we're fitting in between them, and we kind of squash them in a little bit, right? Okay, let's go back into our CPT. So classroom presentation tool. So next, students, they have here, they're actually going to practice this conversation, and we've got the words stressed for them here. So we can see it's, what sports do you like? Soccer and baseball. Why do you like them? They're fun and physical. And if we look at this little conversation here, can you see any words there in this conversation which kind of illustrate what I just showed you about how we squash words together to make them fit? Okay, there's a very common example here. There are two words which we really squash together when we say that, and it's do you, right? Okay, so if we look at this, what sports do you like? We don't say that, do we? We don't say what sports do you like? We say, what sports do you like? Okay, so we say dia. Okay, dia. What sports do you like? We might say ju. Okay, what sports do you like? What sports do you like? So dia. So we really crush these in together, and it doesn't matter, because people still understand. They still understand, the sentence because of the content words. Okay, right, we are running out of time. Okay, so I want to get back onto the main theme here. So the next stage here is brainstorming. Okay, so before they do the task, they need to brainstorm ideas. Here, students are going to pick one of these, or they could pick something else. Okay, which of these activities they want to discuss. We're going to move over here to my Jamboard, because I think we need to make sure we're giving students ideas, okay, that we're supporting, that we're scaffolding. So you should be able to see here now, if I just press function and F11, I should be able to make this a bit bigger. Yeah, there we go. So now we can see the whole screen. So here we've got our, I've put here some sticky notes, okay, that we're going to use. So we've got basically the T chart I mentioned earlier, that we can put whether things are reasons why it's a sport or not. So you can help me. So I've put here, you don't need to be athletic. So eGaming is a sport because, or not a sport because, and then we've got, you don't need to be athletic. So can you tell me, is this a reason why it is a sport or it's not a sport? So you don't need to be athletic. So is this, it is a sport or not a sport? Okay, someone's helping me. Great. Someone's already in here and helping me. Okay, next one. It raises the heart rate. What do you think? You can do it for me. I'm not going to do anything. It raises the heart rate. So it is a sport. Very good. It requires high levels of skill. Okay, this is great. Okay, you're doing all the work for me. I don't need to do anything. Okay, it involves competition on the left. There's a lot of money in it. There is a lot of money in it. Okay. Okay, there we go. So we've got those sort of moved around. And then what we could do if we had more time, okay, I'd ask you to add your own reasons, okay, to add your own reasons. Let's have a look at a couple of these. We've got this over here. There is a lot of, it's not a sport because there is a lot of money in it. I think most sports, competitive sports, there is a lot of money, isn't there? So, you know, if you look at, you know, where you have professional athletes, I would probably put this one over here. This one says it doesn't have a lot of fans, whereas sports, big sports, they do have a lot of fans, don't they? So I think this one we would probably move over here. And yeah, I think, is that okay? It requires high levels of skill. There's not much physical activity. So it is a sport because there's not much physical activity. I think this negative means that we need to put this over here, right? Okay, there we go. So yeah, let's put that over there. Yeah, so we would put in and we would get some more ideas. Okay, then what we would do, okay, we'd bring out this language, which is all from the unit that we looked at, and we'd get students to start practicing making sentences. We would get them to introduce their opinion, and then we would get them to order their reasons. So get them to pick 3 reasons and introduce. So for example, we could say, I think that eGaming is a sport. My first reason is it raises the heart rate. A second reason is it requires high levels of skill. And my last reason is there is a winner and a loser. Okay, so we would get them to put all of this language together, okay, in a very controlled way. And after they've done that, they can start planning their own debate with their partner. Okay, so let me quickly go back and then we're going to start to wrap up. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing just for a moment and we're going to go back into here. Yeah, so we're going to go back now into my PowerPoint. So let me just do my share again. So share screen, advanced. Okay, from this slide would be great. Okay, right. So, yeah, so just to sort of recap what we've been looking at today, we've been looking at materials from Reflect, which is our new 6-level listening and speaking and reading and writing academic series. We've been looking today at the listening and speaking strand. And what we've tried to do with this program, we've tried to make the content really relatable, really global. And we've tried to give it a really excellent skills building framework, which is designed to develop confidence. I hope you saw from today's lesson that it moves through very logically and it builds on itself so that by the time they get to do the unit task, which is the main point of the unit, they've got everything they need to do it successfully, even at a low level, okay? Here are some of the main points, what makes it unique. So it's got this very broad range of content. So it's practicing academic skills, but it has a sort of very broad range of content, which is really relevant for academic use, for professional use, and also for personal use. There's a great task variety. There's so much critical thinking, okay, understanding and thoughtfulness in this program. And it also has complete digital resources so that it's perfect for teaching online. And as I mentioned several times, it starts academic English at a low level. Okay, so perfect for students who don't have a lot of background in English, but who need to learn those academic skills. This is how the unit is organized. So there are 6 lessons in each unit, and this is how they progress. And remember, everything is building through into that final task. I hope that you've enjoyed the lesson that we've looked at today. I hope you found that enjoyable. If you would like to, if you would like us to get in touch with you, if you're interested particularly about the program that we looked at today, Reflect, please fill in the form that Kitty has just put into the chat box there. It says contact request form. It's there right now. And if you click on that and if you fill it in, we will get one of our sales representatives or learning consultants to contact you to give you some more information about Reflect or about any of other programs you might be interested in. We will send you a follow-up email tomorrow with links to the certificate and links to the recording. So you will get that by the end of tomorrow. Okay, so don't worry if you haven't got it immediately. Okay, please give us a bit of time. By the end of tomorrow, you will have that email with the link to the certificate and the recording. I think Kitty's already put these into the chat box for you. So we've got our webinar pages. As I said, this is the last one of this year, but keep your eye on our page because we will have more coming up in the new year. Okay, so we will look forward to welcoming you back again. I'm going to have a quick look in the chat box here. Let me see. Someone's got a question here. Ludong has put a question in about different platforms and apps for virtual interaction like OneNote or Jamboard. Yeah, so I mean, I use OneNote and I use Jamboard, and I recommend those. I really like OneNote because it's just so easy to use, and you can send your students a link to it as well. So what I like about OneNote, I would use that basically as a huge whiteboard where I'm putting all my notes for the lesson, and then after the lesson I can send my students a link so they have access to it. Jamboard is a bit different, isn't it? Jamboard, you can actually get your students to collaborate with you. The other ones I tend to use are, well, Padlet is the other one that I really use often. Padlet is something where you can prepare it. It looks really professional, and you can also get students to participate, move things around, add their ideas. So it's great for kind of online brainstorming. So these are the 3 that I tend to use. Let's see. We've got lots of things in the chat box here. Lots of people saying happy Christmas and stuff. Last thing I want to sort of share here is if you're not already following us on Facebook, okay, or YouTube or WeChat or whatever platform you use, please do. Okay, please join us there. Ludong, yeah, thank you very much for attending today. Marissa, thanks for your kind comment there. Nicholas says, how many webinars next year? I'm not sure yet, Nicholas, because we haven't planned it yet, but in general, we tend, just for our Asia webinars, we tend to do 2 or 3 a month. So when we're actually running them. So I think we'll probably be back in maybe February. So keep your eyes peeled, and hopefully probably from February, we'll have maybe 2 or 3 webinars each month, okay, that you will be able to attend. As Kitty said, yeah, thanks very much for joining our last webinar in 2021. If you've joined us sort of several times over the past few months, yeah, thanks very much for doing so. And you know, we're always happy to have you join us, and I always enjoy, we all do, delivering these sessions. You're a wonderful audience. Chris has a question here: what additional materials are in the teacher's book? Actually, Chris, there are lots of extra materials in Reflect. So there are lots of supplementary materials that you can use. Yeah, if you go to Chris, if you go to the product page, okay, that Kitty put in earlier on, and if we go to the companion site, okay, you'll be able to click on teacher resources, and it will show you a list of all the different resources which are there. Okay, so if you go to the product page, then the companion site, you'll be able to sort of have a look yourself. Yeah, so Kitty's just put it in there. You'll be able to have a look. So click on that, go to companion site, and then click under teacher resources, click the level that you want, and it will show you a list of all the resources there. There we go. Okay, all right, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if you're celebrating that. If you're not, okay, I hope you enjoy the last couple of weeks of 2021. Hasn't been a great year for most of us, I think. So let's hope that 2022 is a better year for everyone and that we can move forwards and have a better time and a healthier time for everyone. So thanks so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kitty. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.